Hare Krishna. Welcome to, this is a community Bhagavad Gita class. They were happening weekly and now they're happening once or twice a month. And I'm doing one right now. So my name is Damayanti Devi Dasi, and thank you for your time. We're going to read from Bhagavad Gita as it is. And I will first say an introductory mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So that is said to create auspiciousness and to, that's it. I don't know any more reasons than that. I said that mantra. To support us to receive the teachings from Bhagavad Gita and from Srila Prabhupada. So tonight I am inspired to take a look at mercy, the concept of mercy, receiving mercy, experiencing mercy. And I don't know, it just jumped to my mind and I started researching it. And so I have different quotes from different, I'm just fixing some things on my computer. I have different quotes about different aspects of mercy, like receiving mercy from God, from Krishna, and what that looks like. So I had to pick one of the verses and I just went with this. I'm gonna read the Sanskrit and the purport and the translation to the text 19 in chapter 20. Text 19, chapter 7. Chapter 7, text 19, Bhagavad Gita. And I'll just do the Sanskrit on my own, and unless actually, do you want to do call and response, Laura? Sure. Okay. Okay, let's go through the word for word and then we'll do the whole verse. So you can repeat after me. Bahunam.
Bahunam.
Many.
Many.
Janmanam.
Jamanam.
Births.
Births.
Ante.
Ante.
After.
After.
Oh, you know what? I'm reading from the screen, and when I copied it over, I can't read it. There's a question mark, but I think it's Gyanavan. Is that it?
Yes.
It is? Okay, then I can do it. I can continue. Okay, Gyanavan.
Gyanavan.
He possessing knowledge.
He possessing knowledge.
Mam.
Unto
me.
Unto me.
Prapadyate.
Prapadyate.
Surrenders.
Surrenders.
Vasudeva.
Vasudeva.
Cause of all causes.
Cause of all causes.
Sarvam.
Sarvam.
All.
All.
Iti.
Iti.
Thus.
Thus.
Sa.
Such.
Such. Mahatma.
Mahatma.
Great soul.
Great soul.
Sudurlabha.
Sudurlabha.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Bahunam ganam. No, that's not. Bahunam janamam ante.
Bahunam jamanam ante.
Gyanavan mam prapadyate.
Janavam mam prapadyate.
Vasudeva sarvamiti.
Vasudeva savam iti.
Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha.
Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha.
Bahunam janamam ante.
Bahunam jamanam ante.
Jnanavan Vam Prapadyate
Janavan Mam Prapadyate
Vasudeva Sarvamiti
Vasudeva Savarm Iti
Samahatma Sudurlabha
Samahatma Sudurlabha
Bahunam Janamamante
Aunam Jamanamante
Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate
Janavan Mam Prapadyate
Vasudeva Sarvamiti
Vasudeva Savam Iti
Samahatma Sudurlabha.
Samahatma Sudurlabha.
Translation: after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders unto him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything and that he is the cause of all causes and that the material manifestation is not independent from him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness and realizes that everything there and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. This verse is very nicely explained. Is that part of it, that paragraph? This verse is very nicely explained.
Yes.
Okay. It looked like it ran into my notes on my document. This verse is very nicely explained in the 3rd chapter of Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Quote, in this body there are powers of speaking, of seeing, of hearing, of mental activities, etc. But these are not important if not related to the Supreme Lord. And because Vasudeva is all-pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. End quote. Okay. Now I'm going to say a prayer to make sure that, or to set the intention that everything I speak about this verse and purport and about this topic is aligned with my spiritual master and with God, with Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svaparantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Risha Banu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Hare. Vanchakalpata Rubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Jinamane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatandesha Tarine. So we're reading from chapter 7, text 19, and the translation of the verse is, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So tonight I prepared different quotes from Bhagavad Gita and a few other places, like I think Srimad Bhagavatam and maybe Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just a few things discussing mercy, Krishna's mercy, and there's a lot of use of the term causeless mercy. And that never quite clicked with me. Maybe it will by the end of tonight. What I mean is, like, I don't grasp it, but I think I have some more understanding from studying today what this term is that is used so often in the Vedic scriptures and by Srila Prabhupada, causeless mercy. And turning my phone around. So, and I just have, this is just a preliminary, preliminary research into what mercy is and how it's described in these by the in this line of Vaishnavism and with the Bhakti Yoga practitioner. What is mercy for those of us practicing Bhakti Yoga and trying to surrender to God and serve Him with devotion? So I gave a little title to the class, Krishna's Mercy is Everything. I grabbed that directly from the purport. And so I'll just start there because that's a fascinating concept in and of itself, that we are completely dependent on Krishna and we require mercy to move forward with our spiritual lives. And that's sort of a fascinating concept there. And then further in the class, I'll discuss, the mood and attitude of the devotee, and then a little bit about like the spiritual master as being an incarnation of mercy. So I'm kind of excited about this class. It feels like a fresh, exciting new topic for me. So going back to the purport, Prabhupada says, when one is so in the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in spiritual life, which means like there's personhood, there's a person, with activities. It's not just impersonal, no activity, like no person, no activities. And that these activities constitute devotional service. And I just want to say how much that resonates with me, that the soul, even just on a material level, you can see the goodness in people. Like if there's personhood, there's goodness. Like you can just see it when a baby's born. There's just this goodness you can see in children. And it is often maintained in adults, but not always prevalent just by observation of adults. But you can see it in children and in babies, and you can see it in nature. You can see it in animals. So all around is evidence that there's like this goodness, and that and for humans especially, there's this desire to do, like, have meaning and do purposeful, kind, good deeds. Like there's like this, and and you can see over and over again in humanity that when people are out of alignment with like their true loving nature, that there's actually a lot of pain and grief from not being doing loving service is what I want to say, but not serving and loving others, not being of service by being loving in some form or fashion. So when, yeah, like, so these so that these spiritual activities can constitute devotional service. And the term devotional service used by Srila Prabhupada is in the term bhakti. Like bhakti itself, it's not towards anything except for the source of everything, the absolute truth, or God, or Krishna. So I really resonate with that. The essential activities of the soul are devotional service. It's beautiful and simple, and it resonates with me. Just like looking around, when I look around, what do I see? There's goodness everywhere. And obviously there's that can be covered, and it is covered in many ways. But anyway, realizing this, the soul in the spiritual journey, becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to him. That was a quick jump, like impersonalism to, okay, there is individuality, and there are activities, and those activities are devotional service. I guess it's not that quick, but it's like once you kind of realize that, you become attached. But maybe that's a process. That's a longer process than just like, oh yeah. But maybe it's a deeper realization, like, okay, like it's a deeper thing than just like cognitive knowledge. Like I've realized that all I should do in my life energy is devotional service. And then to who the Supreme Personality God is. So you become attached and surrender to God. So this is an elevated state, but the process does take time, usually. So the next sentence, at such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, that he is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. So everything is in relationship to Krishna. Everything is from Krishna. Like everything we're provided, our own self, this mind, the spirit, like it's all created and from the source. And like everywhere you look everything's from Krishna. And the way everything is arranged, and everything, the way it's like we're completely like dependent on Krishna. And interestingly, like what is mercy? And so it's saying here, like Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything. And I think that's meant for the person who is not that it's meant for, but it's referring to the person who is in knowledge that devotional service is like the constitutional activity of the soul, and that there's God, and that we have a relationship with God, and that relationship is loving service, and there's an exchange. It's not just receiving and receiving from the source. There's a giving back to the source. And so it's rare to fully realize that. That's what this verse is about. Such a great soul is very rare. And in the purport, such surrendered great souls are very rare. So there's a lot of surrender when you're like, okay, everything is yours. Everything is from you. Everything is for you. And there's just this like abandonment of, your own material desires or anything else but that devotional service. So and at the end it says that so because Vasudev is all pervading and everything is Vasudev, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. So there's like kind of a lot of interplay. Like it's a process of realizing who we are, and the nature of the spirit, soul, and the nature of God, and the relationship. And so developing that knowledge, it actually coming in contact with transcendental knowledge, spiritual knowledge, the absolute truth. This is related to mercy, and it's I have several like quotes describing that, like the spiritual master is the form of Krishna, it's like his mercy it's the incarnation of Krishna's mercy or compassion is when he sends a spiritual master to humanity, to each of us individually at our own time in the perfect way. Like, okay, you're like ready to receive the knowledge that you need to surrender and to, uncover your nature. So it's sort of fascinating. And actually in the Christian concept, which I didn't do any studying on, I can't really like repeat, but I had a friend I was talking to, we were comparing notes with our spiritual practice, both coming, this is a friend from when I was 10, and we stayed in contact, all those years, teens, and anyway, 20s, 30s, now we're in our 40s, now we're both 42. Anyway, but years ago, we were both coming into contact with spirituality, like in a way that had to do with devotional service, but separate paths. She's following the Catholic tradition, and I'm doing Hare Krishna, which is really different, but we were comparing notes, and she said, in your practice, is there any like concept of grace, like being given grace? And I was like, we refer to Srila Prabhupada as his divine grace, his meaning God's, and then grace. So it's like, isn't that an interesting phrase? His divine grace is Srila Prabhupada. So it's like this grace or mercy given to us. And grace and mercy are given to people who like kind of maybe like don't deserve it, or who are like suffering or struggling or like in the dark. And it's like, okay, let me help them out. Like that's when mercy is given. It's like they're like in a bind. And that's the spiritual master goes through a lot of struggle to come. I mean, we've seen it with like Lord Jesus Christ and Srila Prabhupada, and the bona fide representative of the Lord usually faces a lot of like troubles, and it's a great act of compassion. It's challenge. It's a big challenge undertaking to come and clear things up and bring souls back to God in the way that they do. Like I'm talking about not just like all of us trying to help each other back to God, but like the one who comes with all the transcendental knowledge and lays it down again for humanity to receive. It's a great act of compassion and mercy from Krishna. And anyway, I'm feeling kind of excited about talking about this. So okay, there's a section of like my notes that have to do with just the devotional mood and receiving life and receiving experiences and disturbances and material reactions as mercy, receiving it as mercy from Krishna. But I just spent a lot of time, and I think I'll get to that after, but right now I feel like there's energy going towards, I want to finish kind of where I was at with speaking about the spiritual master, and I had that out of order in my notes, but I'm going to go there. So let me skip, I'm like scrolling through my notes. Okay, first I want to just say the definition of mercy, because I grabbed that from the dictionary. So it's like compassion or forbearance shown especially to an offender, or to one subject, to one's power. So someone who's subject to another person's power, they receive compassion or mercy. Also a blessing that is an act of divine favor or compassion, or compassionate treatment of those in distress. Mercy among the poor. Okay, so compassionate treatment of those in distress. So another definition that was in there, I didn't like quote it, but it was talking about like people in prison and murder, and like I don't really know, like it was a quote. I didn't read the like sentences. They usually in the dictionary have like an example with a word used in a sentence, but it's like, yeah, like causeless mercy is a term used, like I was saying, by Srila Prabhupada very often. And it's like person who receives mercy or compassion, they might not even really be deserving of it, or like even doing anything for themselves in some ways to like get out of the mess that they're in, or to rectify. They may be trying, and maybe by that maybe feeble attempts, they don't really have much power, someone else has more of the power over like that forgiveness and the compassion and the mercy to give it to them. But I'm just highlighting the state of consciousness of the person receiving mercy. If you're receiving mercy, you're maybe not even actually deserving it. And that's what the causeless, that term causeless, is like not even any cause, just like mercy coming without even you generating the cause of the mercy. Like we're not even being extraordinary in some ways. I mean, I know for me, like I'm just so just day to day. I mean, I'm not really Krishna conscious. I'm not doing really anything that extraordinary. And if I look back to the times when Krishna or Prabhupada arranged that I got in contact with some transcendental knowledge about 8 years ago, I don't think I was really doing anything that extraordinary. I mean, yes, I can see like a few things were clicking, and then it was like sort of time to receive this, but it wasn't extraordinary at all. There wasn't really like this grand cause, like, oh, look at this soul who's emanating nothing. Like it was just like, it was in some ways causeless, just like, how am I in contact with this? This is like such a blessing. So I just wanted to highlight that this term mercy is, in our deep dive tonight. Thank you for following with me. Okay. So there's this, and actually it's just 5 verses earlier, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 14. There's a verse that the verse says, "This divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it." And in the purport, Prabhupada elaborates, "It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only Lord Krishna or his bona fide representative, spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature." So I'm skipping a couple sentences. Okay, devotional service. I'm not skipping a sentence, I'm going straight to, okay. Devotional service or Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. Okay, so this is just pointing out that we need a spiritual master. That is, I think the word mercy may have been used in here, I'm not sure. Okay, well, still, causeless. Yes, causeless mercy. So it's Krishna's causeless mercy that he orders the release of the conditioned soul. And then there's, emphasis on the spiritual master. There's only really 2 ways, and actually both are needed. The spiritual master and Krishna kind of working together to help release the soul. When the soul is ready to receive transcendental knowledge and cultivate bhakti yoga and return to its nature as a servant of God, these things are just happening causelessly. And we're in quite a bind. Okay, so take my word for it. Okay, so thank you for your time, you guys, as I'm just like sort of like I'm wanting to share these quotes because I think they're inspiring. Okay, so this is from no, hold on. Okay, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14, text 28 and 29. And I don't know the context. I honestly just did research and grabbed things that were pertinent. So, okay, so this is Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Baladev appeared as Sri Nityananda Prabhu during the advent of Lord Chaitanya and the great Lord Nityananda Prabhu exhibited his causeless mercy by delivering a pair of extremely fallen souls, namely Jagai and Madai. Therefore, it is particularly mentioned herein that Balaram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. By his divine grace only can one approach the Supreme Lord Krishna, Sri Krishna, and that Sri Balaram is the mercy incarnation of the Lord, manifested as the spiritual master, the savior of the pure devotees. Okay, now I'm not going to be able to like speak with authority, but I'll just sort of like helpfully try to speculate a little. So by his divine grace only, this is speaking of Balaram, can one approach the Supreme Lord Krishna. And I think of it as like he's like his right-hand man, or yeah, like Balaram is like Krishna's right-hand man. And so we kind of need to like go through him. And there's like, you know, we usually don't even really qualify, especially in the conditioned state, to even associate with Krishna. And so there's like this maybe grace or mercy given to us. He's considered the divine grace, hit by Balaram's divine grace only. So that's how we can approach Krishna. And that's why he's considered the mercy incarnation of the Lord. And it says he's manifested as a spiritual master. Okay, so you know what? I can't really say more about that. I don't know. I'll just put out there a question. Is it saying that each spiritual master is an incarnation of Balaram? I don't think so. I think there's spiritual masters who are not Krishna, a Krishna, you know, entity, but like an expansion of Krishna. There's some that are just in the jiva, soul, and like origination. Anyway, but he's manifested as a spiritual. You know what? Just look it up, whatever you need to learn first. I don't have all the answers. Okay, I'm being a little silly. Okay, so this, whew, where are we going with this? Okay, 2 more quotes about a spiritual master. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 7, text 12. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that unless one is directly empowered by the causeless mercy of Krishna, one cannot become the spiritual master of the entire world, Jagat Guru. So you have to be empowered by Krishna's causeless mercy to give causeless mercy, which is what the spiritual master does. And it says at the end of this quote from, or it's in the purport, the true acharya means example or teacher, the spiritual master of the entire world, must be considered an incarnation of Krishna's mercy. So that is fascinating, because what does the spiritual master do? I mean, it's like they're giving transcendental knowledge. But it's not just like, here's information. It's like the transcendental knowledge coming from the pure devotee, from that causeless mercy incarnation energy. It's alive and it's fine-tuned and it's like working magic. It's not just like information, like, oh, here's who Krishna is and here's what he likes. And you just like without like there's like a transformation of heart and spirit that happens when you're in association with pure devotees or even aspiring practitioners of bhakti yoga, the practice of connecting to the Lord in devotion. There's transformation going on inside, and there's like this unconditioning or this unraveling or uncovering of the soul that's not like a dry mental, intellectual, informational process. So I just wanted to clarify that the spiritual master is giving transcendental knowledge, but he is also like working magic with Krishna combined to like release the soul so that it can really like shine in its true nature as a servant of God. Those are my thoughts. Okay, one more quote about the spiritual master and mercy. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, but this actually, I got this quote from Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, text 11 or something like that, or chapter 11. I don't really know, but it just says 11. I got this from PrabhupadaBooks.com. And this is within the purport that Prabhupada was writing. And he quoted Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, chapter 29, text 6. Okay. My dear Lord, even if someone attains a life as long as Brahma's, he would still be unable to express his gratitude for the benefits derived from remembering you. Out of your causeless mercy, you drive away all inauspicious conditions, expressing yourself from outside as the spiritual master and from inside as the super soul. So there's another like little team. I mean, the super soul is an incarnation of Krishna, and it's and it's what I was speaking about is like the transformation going on inside the heart. Like Krishna, there's an incarnation of God in our hearts, working on the inside, while the spiritual master is an expression of Krishna's mercy, working from the outside. And they like work together with the soul who's like at least trying or surrendered or open or just even causeless mercy. Like it could just be like the soul doesn't even deserve it, but out of compassion, there can be transformation, like great, huge transformation happening for the soul, that so that it's awakening to its nature. Anyway, I find it like really touching, and I've been speaking for a while, but I do want to go ahead and touch on what I said that I would, which is the devote, and maybe it relates, but like the devotee experiencing everything as Krishna's mercy and receiving the distressing things. And there's some really touching quotes, if I can find it on my paper, but about it's like this humble, like both Krishna and the soul, when there's like this devotional, like loving exchange, they want to give credit to the other one, and in like, I'll try to find it, but let me go ahead and go straight to that. Okay, I'll start with this. This is from chapter 2, text 56 in the purport. Okay, this is describing the soul who, this is the verse real quick. One who is not disturbed in spite of the threefold miseries, who is not elated when there is happiness, and who is freed from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So Prabhupada in the purport is saying, he is called a Muni, fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. So, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice to be humble? I'm touched by the idea of being humble. Could I get any credit for that? I'm joking, but like, yeah, like, oh, this terrible thing that happened, like, that I'm so grateful. I deserve worse. Like that's the mood of a devotee who's experiencing distresses. And then when things are going really well, like for me, like I take credit when things are going well. I'm like, oh, what did I do? Like I'm looking for taking the credit for myself when I'm happy or whatever. Oh, look, I made a decision that was so aligned with my truth. And then because I got into alignment, I chose to, like, I don't know, I can think of things like that. But like, okay, a devotee instead is thinking like, I'm not really worthy of this happiness. And it's only due to like Krishna's mercy and grace that I'm in this comfortable position, but I'm grateful because I can do even better service to the Lord. So fascinating. Isn't the devotee mentality sort of fascinating? I mean, I think so. There's one quote similar to that. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Go scrolling back up to my page for a minute, you guys. This is one thing that was similar, like Krishna wanted to give credit to the devotee. Okay, here it is. This is a purport to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, text 34. Every plan is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is so kind and merciful to his devotees that he wants to give the credit to his devotees who carry out his plan according to his desire. Life should therefore move in such a way that everyone acts in Krishna consciousness and understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of a spiritual master. Plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by his mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as his plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. So I was just touched by Krishna is so kind and merciful to his devotees that he wants to give credit to his devotees who carry out his plan. So, the devotees want to give credit to Krishna, or they want, and then like Krishna wants to give them credit. And like, it's kind of sweet, like the idea of like humble, loving exchange and like not wanting something for yourself in return. And so that's sort of fascinating. I don't know how you guys feel, but it's just like, wow, did we get to at least hear about it and know that it exists, that people really do cultivate devotion, and maybe that means it's possible for us. And like, what kind of like deep soul satisfaction could be possible if we were like more, humble and devotional. I'll share another quote, and then I think I want to kind of come to a close, even though there's a few more things I collected. I'll just share this one thing. We'll end there. This is from chapter 2, text 64 in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. If Krishna, so this is about becoming like transcendental to attachment, to material attachment. It says, if Krishna wants, the devotee can do anything which is ordinarily undesirable. So I'm going to slow down. If Krishna wants, then anything can happen which may seem ordinarily undesirable, like if that's what Krishna wants. Okay. And the next sort of phrase is, and if Krishna does not want, the devotee shall not do that which he would have ordinarily done for his own satisfaction. So basically, Krishna is like completely in charge of whether we act or don't act, devotional or not. Okay. So therefore, to act or not act is within his control, because therefore to act or not act is within his, not capital H, so it's the soul. It was in the soul's control because he acts only under the direction of Krishna. So this is like the devotee who is surrendered to Krishna. I don't know what to say, you guys. We're learning together in this moment. I am not the expert. I'm just repeating things and trying to understand. Therefore, to act or not act is within his control because he acts only under the direction of Krishna. The next sentence is where I kind of wanted to get to. This consciousness is the causeless mercy of the Lord, which the devotee can achieve in spite of his being attached to the sensual platform. My mind is broken and gone and blown away. So now I need to depend on you, friends. If there's anyone, Laura, Devin, if you want to unmute and share Hare Krishna. Thank you. The way we end class sometimes is we go back to the original verse and just read that and close out. And if you could help me, because I am lost at the very end there.
Read that original verse.
Original verse that I started with: after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Hare Krishna. Thank you, guys. Any thoughts or comments or anything that stood out to you? Questions, realizations? Please share.
Okay, well, I was unmuted now. I'm unmuted now. Hi, Laura. Laura, you're flying in the trees, and it's quite beautifully distracting. And I was in the grocery store in the popsicle aisle with screaming children when the class started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And then we made it out of the store after some other calamities. And then now I'm just getting home, and I was hoping I'd be home and I'd like get a little more grounded at the end of class, and I'd like get involved in some of the discussion because I did want to participate more, but I'm at where I'm at. And that's kind of what I got from the class, is like being okay with like where I'm at. And I had a coaching session earlier that related to something I heard in the class about Srila Prabhupada being, what was it? I'll have to circle back. Okay. Yeah. I'll see if I can get clarity about what that was about.
It sounds like you're juggling a few things and taking care of kids. So
yeah, juggling. I'm just juggling. I'm just trying to be present, but not as much as I want.
I appreciate your presence as it is. Thanks.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I just appreciated coming to class. It's been a while, so I enjoyed your class, your preparation, the different directions you went. And I found myself feeling very sleepy, like I was very present and hearing everything, and also like in a very deep relaxation. My eyes were not able to stay open, but I really enjoyed it. It was like it felt nice to come to class instead of I was distracting myself with some other things. And so this felt like a better use of time, good use of, not just a better use of time, like good, inspired, talking about God and returning to that relationship. I guess the thing that stood out in the beginning was when you, just a reminder of the giving and receiving with Krishna and God. That's like just really, that comes up for me a lot, or I share that piece a lot to people when I talk about God and kirtan. And then I was appreciating where you were going at the end. Like you said you got lost, but I was there with you, and yeah, like figuring it out together. I don't know at all really, but the only thing that I think of is that Krishna's an incarnation. Oh, to echo, it's gone. Krishna being an incarnation in our hearts, and if we're connected to him. But as this verse says, such a great soul is very rare. So many people are really connected to what he's really saying and guiding us that way. But something around that, you were like talking about a few of those verses. That's what I hear, like the soul, the small s, or the small s for self is connected. I forget what you were saying, but the verses that you were speaking about. So I think it has to do with that, right? Like he's guiding us from the inside. And then I was appreciating like the inside guidance, outside guidance with the master. That was interesting to visualize it that way. But that's really all. Oh, I disappeared. Yeah, I appreciate the class. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
You popped in, and it was a nice way to spend your time. You disappeared again. It's funny. I think it's maybe low lighting, and then you don't get picked up. You turn into the background. I don't know idea. That I can't answer either about the Zoom technology, virtual background. But yeah, thanks. You just received the class, and yeah, it's nice to think about like the two things that you mentioned that stood out for you, it sounds like you and I might kind of have something that clicks at the base, which is serving the absolute truth or returning a loving energy to the source. Like, I don't know, it sounds like you said you speak about it a lot when you're doing kirtan or in service, which is really inspiring to me. I don't know who you're interacting with, but like, I love that you're bringing the bhakti philosophy and principles to the new people. And so it's just a nice philosophy. Just like, yeah, like we can return our like gratitude. We can express gratitude. We can exchange energy, like giving and receiving. It's a really beautiful concept that there's like that there's personhood in the source, and that the person has preferences and personality and friendships and likes and dislikes, and then we can like be curious about this person. It's like it's fascinating too. Like, yeah, it's just kind of far out.
Yeah, I want to respond to what you said. I think that piece of the philosophy is like really relatable and makes sense. Like relatable and like there's another word I can't really think about what word I'm trying to use, but like that I can explain it to people like that. Like I might not be talking about Krishna consciousness, and I might not be speaking about like directly about all of the philosophy of bhakti, but some of like the beginning pieces of that people can understand, and like depending who I'm speaking to, but especially like with kirtan, like what are the words svaranam and kirtan, like the hearing and then the speaking, the chanting and hearing, those that I really
Shravanam
like.
and Kirtanam.
Yes, I like that. I feel like I've spoken about that to, like that's really relatable and simple to understand, and then you can take that into like the bigger
Yeah.
picture of relationship with God and all that. But that's just like even that piece is easy to explain. Yeah, to a lot of like newer people that I'm speaking to bhakti about.
Yeah. Laura, I love and I really appreciate how you're like speaking to people about spiritual life, because it's like that's your genuine interest. I'm assuming, like, I don't know who the people are, but I'm like, I love that you're often reporting about sharing. Like you're wanting to share. You have this desire to share or bring people in or to enlighten or to uplift. And then you also do it from your own, it's like a simple place, simple hearted place. And bringing what's authentic and true to you. And it seems like there's things you bring from bhakti philosophy, the philosophy from the Hare Krishnas and Bhagavad Gita and everything that you resonate with, and it's a simple version, and then you're quote preaching. It's like that's great. I don't know, like some people may be really philosophical and not sharing at all. So I'm not saying you're not philosophical. I just mean like really like studying and remember the verses and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Thank you for what you shared. Yeah, thanks for seeing that and sharing that.
Yeah, and then the other thing that you mentioned, I just want to say, was talking about like the super soul from within, and then the spiritual master on the outside working together. And then like the soul's like affected, and it's like not just a dry process, it's this magical like uncovering emotional, devotional, and it includes information, knowledge, but it's like a transformation that is undertaken. I lost my point. Oh, I've heard it described. There's a quote from Prabhupada, and I don't have it memorized, and I don't have it here tonight. But it's like a train. It's like a metaphor, or analogy, whatever. I think a metaphor. It's like a train tracks. So like the train can go to its destination, but needs those two tracks to like be, at least in the simple analogy version. Who knows what's needed now for tracks? But yeah, usually there's two tracks, and so you need them both. You need like God and spiritual master, to get to the destination. Like without the spiritual master, without like basically any kind of scripture, you just have like that. It can be a little ungrounding, and you cannot be sure if you're on track, essentially, without any kind of scripture or guidance or teaching or teacher. And so I think it's like not as secure to get to the destination. And then with only the spiritual master, yeah, like, well, I don't know. I guess I can't I haven't I've never described this analogy, so but I'm just sort of like speculate and like kind of fumble my way through it. If you only have the spiritual master and God is out of the picture, then you're not actually getting a chance to practice the devotional service. You're not getting to know who God is. But of course, the spiritual master gives it to you. I think it's like this thing that just goes hand in hand. It's like the spiritual master is pointing you to God. The God is creating the magic that you receive the right verses at the right time from the spiritual master. It's like putting people, God is like arranging people coming, and like they're working together. I don't know. That's all.
Yeah, I like that. And I think visual ideas are helpful for me as I'm learning. And for some reason, like you just saying that earlier, like the inward thing, like the Krishna is in my heart, and then spiritual master, at least for me at this point, is just like, scriptures or books or whatever other way I'm experiencing that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And those working together. But somehow, like, I like that, thinking of that internal and external together. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Devin, are you there? Do you want to say anything, last things? I think I'll end the class. If not, I can just hear the children.
Yeah, I don't want to say any nice things.
You're angry still?
I do have a question about that, but
What?
no,
Oh.
we're recording. It's not about Bhagavad Gita class, it's something else, but
Ugh, parenting.
yeah, just something. I'll talk to you about it later.
Oh.
Thank you for the class. Community service.
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Okay. I'll hit unrecord if you want to talk.
Thank you.